All right. Good evening. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center. Tonight is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. This is our freight broker training for beginners, starting our second week. And as students come in, I'll make the announcement, but I'll make it now. We're Friday's class, according to the calendar here that I'm sharing on my screen, is canceled because I will be from Friday till Monday following week in Washington, D.C., my wife's birthday weekend. She wants to go to the African American Museum in D.C., so that's what I'm doing. So, um, but yes, so we have right now, Alicia's on here. So what's going on?
I just want to say that was a good museum, by the way.
Oh, you went there. Okay.
I went there in
I don't want
June.
I don't want my wife to hear you. She'll probably come in and say, "Oh my God, what's it
Oh,
like?"
I'm not saying nothing. It's an experience.
Okay, so is it like two stories and things like that, or?
No, it's like 16 8 stories or something like it's big.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
This is gonna be exciting, man. You get you
Yeah. It's
well.
a lot of stories.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm looking forward to it now at this point. So, all right. So yeah, the BOLs, uh, not the PODs, but the BOLs are yeah, you can use them to target those customers. So
Oh, wait, Charles, I gotta take this. I have a driver that's broken down.
go ahead. I'll wing it till you come back.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right. We got Miss Alicia. She's taking a call from one of her drivers who's broken down. But in the meantime, while we wait for others to come in, let me show you guys in our portal here on the calendars. Here's our scheduled calendar. Today's the 13th. We're doing basic QA and for freight broker training tonight at 6 p.m., which is now. And then Friday's class is canceled, of course, because of my wife's birthday. And then that's the second week. The fourth week is basic on the Tuesday the 27th, and then the Friday the 30th. We're going to have, of course, basic Q&A and then techniques and strategies, as we always do. Okay, so let's go to the main menu. And for those of you who will be looking at this for the very first time, if you're interested in training,
I'm back.
all right, so I just navigated to the main menu. So is everything okay with your driver?
No, been
Uh,
dealing with this bootlegged mechanic. I don't know.
oh, I think
We're working it out.
I have a mechanic recommendation. I will probably talk to you about that later on.
Okay. Yeah, I hate that he had to be broken down on the road.
So he's waiting on someone to come out there.
No, he got towed yesterday into this shop called Jordan's Diesel in Henderson, North Carolina. He was in Virginia, but they brought him backwards.
Oh,
And they said they would get on it in the morning. The morning came, no one was there. They went to go get a part without looking at the truck first. Does not make sense to me.
it does not.
No.
But he was in
So
Virginia. Where was he in Virginia? He was here with me. He could have.
I don't know what part of Virginia. He was 30. Okay, so he said he was 30 miles from Henderson, North Carolina.
Okay.
So whatever part of Virginia that is.
Yes, 30 miles. So he's probably the southern part. Sounds like the southern part of Virginia, southeastern or south mid southern part of Virginia, Henderson, North Carolina. Yeah, little small town. So, so yeah. Now, was that wasn't the gentleman that signed up with the class with you, was it? That's not him.
No. No.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, so those BOLs, are they good customers in your opinion that you may consider brokering for at some point, or you think?
Um, well, this one is the first customer. And I've actually worked for this company before, it's Clorox. So they would be a good one to reach out to.
Yeah, pretty large company.
Yeah. And but the other, I won't know more until it's only my second day with this contract. So the first one I was just shuttling back and forth within the company. So this time I'm out delivering.
Okay. So what are you? You were one, I guess something a little bit more consistent. When it comes to the customers, you want them like a lot more loads per week. What are you looking I guess as a new broker, you would want to kind of wean yourself into a lot of loads as opposed to getting smacked with a bunch of loads starting out, you know,
Okay.
to kind of get your feet wet, if you will. Now, we have a customer that we were looking at that gives about 10 to 20 loads a week, right? So
Hmm.
you would have to have capacity as far as assets, trucks, in order to not saying that you have to be asset based, but you would have to have trucks that are onboarded or that are approved with your brokerage. Speaking of which, your broker, have you done the broker application yet? Have you filed and all those things? I asked it a lot, but I talked to a lot of people, so
Well, I'm not going to do it with my company. David was going to do it with his company, and then I was going to kind of work with him. So
got you.
that's how we're doing that.
Okay. So,
Um,
all right, so you're working with Dave, and I guess you guys will be asset based because you have your own truck and trailers, correct?
well, he don't have his own truck and trailer. I'm not having my company connected with his at all.
Okay. So you'll just
Yeah, because I spoke to my insurance lady, and she was just giving me certain scenarios. Starting out, it will be best to work under someone before you start doing your own thing. Because if something happens, they can come after the trucking company as well. I was like, I don't want that to happen.
correct. So, and she is correct. So yeah, you're separate entities. So you'll be running on, let's say he starts his brokerage and he gets a customer and then he has loads, um, then you would just on board with him and just run under him with your trucking company. Just get approved like you normally do under a brokerage right now, because you're an owner operator right now. You're running for a company right now, right?
Yeah, I have my own authority.
Right. So it'll be the same concept. You know,
Hmm.
he'll just be as if he's another broker you're getting a load from, and you're going through the whole approval process, broker carrier agreement, rate con, and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. So, how is David? I haven't heard from David in a minute. I don't know if he's going after customers yet, getting his application in order or what have you. So, I'm sure I'll hear from him pretty soon. So,
Yeah, I text him. I don't know if he's asleep
it's fine. It's
or
fine.
not.
Yep. It's fine. Hey, LaDonna. LaDonna just came on.
Hi, LaDonna.
Yeah, she's muted right now. But so okay then. Well, you can share with I would assume you would share with David then the customers that you get as a carrier so that he can target them as a broker. That way,
Mm-hmm.
that way there will not be a
Conflict of interest.
correct. You're right. So yeah, that way it won't be anything like that. So okay. That's good. That's good. So you have the inside connection then.
I'm trying.
You have a almost like a you building your own shippers list as you broker, as you, I mean, not broker, as you get more uh, loads from brokers from their customers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in those, you got to be careful though, because in those broker carrier agreements, there are clauses there about no back solicitation, and you can't go after our customers. Are you familiar with those terms? When you
Oh no.
so let's see here. Let me go over here and take a look at not broker documents. Let's go into the actual packet types. So let's go to the packet types and show you what I'm so in the broker carrier agreement, the actual broker carrier agreement, there is, and this is the relationship between let's say I'm the broker, you're the carrier. In the broker carrier agreement, there should be a clause in here. Broker responsibilities, carriers responsibilities. We got that. We understand what those are. Broker carrier responsibilities right here. Number 3. A is the equipment. Basically, make sure your equipment is upkept and everything. Bill of lading. Okay. And it usually says it here, but I think it's further down. And they quote the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR, when they do it. Right under miscellaneous. Okay, let's go to miscellaneous. Right there, E. Section E, under miscellaneous. Okay, under the miscellaneous, which is part 4 of the broker carrier agreement. And when you get a chance, look at some of your broker carrier agreements that you've done with some brokers, right? I'm sure you still have copies of yours, right?
Yes.
So where it says no back solicitation, right? So unless otherwise agreed in writing, the carrier shall not knowingly solicit freight shipments for a period of 24 or let's say 36 months. They can decide following termination of this agreement for any reason from any shipper, consignor, which is a shipper also, consignee, which is a receiver, or other customer of the broker, when such shipments of shipper customers were first tendered to you, the carrier, by the broker. So basically, they're saying you can't go after our customers 24 to 36 months or whatever they deem in this blank line here after you've delivered that shipment, right? Whatever, how many years. So but some people ignore this, right? But if they find out, they have grounds to stand on as a broker to come after a carrier for basically going behind them and taking their customer. That's essentially what that says. So then it says, in the event of breach of this provision, in other words, if you do back solicit, right, a customer from the broker, so in the event of this breach of this provision, brokers shall be entitled, or they should have the right to, for a period of 36 or whatever months following the delivery of the last shipment transported by the carrier under this agreement, to a commission of, so they're trying to get some money from you now, 20%. So if you back solicit, take their customers, they want 20% of it.
But if it's not me doing it and it's someone else.
So if it's under the authority of the company, so if it's your company, let's say you have 3 or 4 drivers, but you have them leased on under your authority and they're running loads under your authority, and you guys got a load from a broker, and then unbeknownst to you, one of your drivers back solicited a shipper from that broker,
Oh,
right? But you didn't know about it, but it's still under your authority. So it affects you, the carrier.
okay.
You see? So, and then they say, well, I want 20% of the gross transportation revenue as evidenced by the freight bills. You got to show them the freight bills. If you back solicit my customer and you making money off that, and they give me, I want 20% of that, right? Received by the carrier for transportation of said freight as liquidated damages, right? So instead of taking you to court, they say, well, instead of us taking you to court and we incurring all these legal fees, let's just take 20% of what you're gonna make anyway, right? So,
Okay.
additionally, broker may seek injunctive release, and in the event it is successful, in other words, injunctive court, basically court, injunctive release, and in the, I try to translate this the jargon in his stuff, right? And in the event,
Mhm.
in any event it is successful, in other words, taking you to court is successful, then the carrier should be liable for all the court costs, right? And attorney's fees, basically. All the costs and expenses incurred by the broker, including but not limited to reasonable attorney's fees. So when you book as a carrier, when you book loads with brokers, look for this back solicitation thing if you thinking about, if you have that in your mind, like, oh, I'm gonna get a load, I'm gonna get something from a shipper, right? Now, do they ever I mean, no carrier is going to say, okay, hey man, I'm taking one of your customers and I'm letting you know. They're not going to literally tell you they're going to do it. It's the proof, the burden of proof is on the broker. They have to prove that, and I'm not saying it to encourage you to do it. I'm just saying that the burden of proof is on the broker to prove that the carrier, in fact, took the customer from the broker. And it's a stronger burden of proof when you are a carrier and you gave the contact information of that broker's customer to, let's say, to Dave, right? He's a broker. He has nothing to do with you. He's not on your broker carrier agreement. So technically, that is not back solicitation because David is completely separate from you, the carrier. So they're saying the carrier being that you go after the customer directly and you run for that customer as your carrier directly as opposed to using the broker. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you give it to another person who has a brokerage, that's fair game. But as a carrier, if you were to back solicit and you get it and you win that shipper directly and eliminate the broker out of the equation as a carrier directly with the same customer that you ran under that broker, now you have back solicited to the same customer that you got when you ran it with the broker. Okay. So there is the loophole, if you will, in that process. You know,
Hmm.
exactly. Remember Arsenio Hall things that make you say,
Yes.
So back in the day, right? So the language is there, but so is the loophole, right? The language is there,
Okay.
so is the loophole. The loophole is you can't back solicit as a carrier, but you can. It's Freedom of Information, the FOIA Act, Freedom of Information Act. I can give information to a friend of mine. Oh, he just so happens to be a broker. Oops. It's not my fault he decided. I didn't tell him. I just say he just asked me, "Hey man, who's your customer? Who you getting your loads from?" Or who
Uh-huh.
you say, "Well, I'm getting it from Nabisco over in Jacksonville, Florida." Oh, okay. Who's the contact person over there? He's a broker. Right. So he'll contact them and he'll win it, and then started getting loads, and then calling you to run those loads. That's fair game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that as directly as the carrier, or the owner operator of the trucking company, you try to run the same loads that you got brokered to 2 or 3 months ago. Now you've
That won't work.
that won't work.
Yeah.
Back solicited. So all you have to do is just read the language, the jargon, and basically just translate it as such, right? So, but yeah, so those things as a broker, like you're a carrier, so you see in the contract there's terms in there that will get carriers caught up. Some carriers don't even read some of this stuff, which is not good. But
Yeah. Well, I know in my contract is no double brokering and things of that nature. I did see that.
so what is
And
the so do you understand what they meant when they told you as a carrier no double brokering?
basically giving their loads to another outside carrier that's not underneath my authority and that they didn't approve.
Right. And so that and the plus you don't have the authority to do it. So You're selling the same load twice, basically. You double, that's what the term double brokering. You got the load from you as a carrier, you have a carrier authority, not a trucking, I mean, not a broker authority. So you get a load brokered to you by a freight broker, right? And you are the carrier. Okay. But you realize you don't have capacity, or you could say, hey, man, I can give it to a trucking friend of mine. And now, let's say the load was $2,000. You say, man, I got a friend who can run it. I can't run it because I'm on all my trucks are covered. I can give it to a buddy of mine who has a small trucking company. He's just getting started. I can give it to him for, I got it for 2,000. I can give it to him for 1,800 or 1,700, right? And you make a little money off the difference, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you follow, so that can't possibly work. I'm surprised that double brokering still exists because everything is documented. Who's on the paperwork, right?
I don't know.
You got the initial. So let's think about that for a minute. You got the initial load from the broker, right? They tendered it, or they sent you a rate confirmation to your carrier one. You're the first carrier, right? So let me bring up my um, whiteboard.
Charles, I've seen people with magnets on the side of their truck take them off and put a whole nother trucking company. And I'm like, what are you doing?
They thirsty out here. These rates are that low that they doing stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, so they got multiple DOT numbers that they're running under on magnets and just keep changing the name of the company.
LaDonna, have you heard of that? That's new to me. I wouldn't be
No,
surprised.
I've seen it. I seen it with my own two eyes.
Yeah, but when it comes to verifying, it's LaDonna says it's kind of smart, but when it comes to verifying, how are you going to verify it though? So double brokering, right? Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay. Double brokering, right? The art or science or deception of selling the same load twice, right? It's all in the words these days, apparently, right? So broker one, well, the only broker, so I'll just say broker, gives a load to carrier one, because double brokering involves two carriers, carrier one and the first carrier, right? Carrier one. So on how does the broker give the load? How is that relationship official? What makes that relationship official between the broker and the first carrier where the initial load is given to them? It's official through what's called a rate confirmation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rate con or the load confirmation, they call it rate confirmation or load confirmation. On the rate con or the load con, it has all the pertinent information. It has the original carrier's information, their drivers, email, phone number, first and last name, truck and trailer number. It has the load information, the load number, BOL number, pickup order number, things of that nature, right? So when a carrier one decides to give it to carrier two, how can potentially double brokering be efficient when carrier two takes the data and get to the pickup location, which is the shipper? The shipper is who is the shipper expecting? The information that was on the rate confirmation is going to be transferable to what's called a BOL, right? Because when the broker and the carrier agree to a load, the broker's going to let the shipper know, hey man, I found a truck. Here's the details of the truck. So when they get to the pickup location, you'll be able to verify the truck, right? That's just common sense. I got,
Right.
ABC Trucking, Jane Doe, Jane Doe at gmail.com, her email, phone number 555-1212, or whatever, right? The data, right? Pickup number ABC123, right? So all of the necessary stuff is there on the So when the second carrier, who was double brokered to, gets to the pickup location or the consignor or the shipper has the BOL information because the BOL information was faxed to them or EDI, electronically transferred to them between the broker and the shipper. Once the broker told the shipper that they found the truck, they are expecting on the BOL the data for who? The first carrier. So how is it possible that double brokering is getting off these days when carrier two gets there and they are nowhere near Jane Doe and all the information on the first carrier's driver and all that other stuff? How are they getting that? How are they getting away with that?
I think they're given, so from what was tried to be explained to me, they're giving that other person's information instead, the first carrier, as if it's their worker,
Right, but
and it's not their worker.
I'm still expecting if I was a shipper to in order to combat double brokering, I'll still ask for a driver's license. I need you to identify that you are Jane Doe. Now, if it's a man, let's say if it's a female driver on the original BOL and the original brokered it to a female carrier like yourself, and then a male carrier gets there, as a shipper, I'm like, wait a minute. On my BOL, it says that this trucking company is coming to get it. The driver is this person. So it seems like there is the disconnect right there. There's not enough data transfer to the shipping facility to identify the proper carrier that's coming to get that particular load. It went from a female carrier to a male carrier. Well, no, not the wrong type of truck. I would assume that the second carrier would have the same equipment as the first carrier. That would be foolish. Um, so Ramon said it's no way because they coming out checking the truck. KC on the Raycon, right? So some of these things should be a deterrent or to prevent that from happening, right? So if the BOL is showing who should be at the facility coming to pick that load up, when carrier two gets there and they're not the person who is on the BOL or that the shipper is expecting, I think it's the shipper's responsibility not to load that truck.
I agree.
Right? And then to call the broker and say, hey man, we got a male person here picking up this load, pickup number ABC123. I thought you had a female carrier, Jane Doe at gmail.com, and here's her information, all this other stuff. So because carrier one can give carrier two, just tell them like here, okay, it's gonna be low ABC123, it's gonna be that, it's gonna be this, but they're not taking the original truck and trailer number to that shipper as carrier two, and they're not taking the original driver that's supposed to be there on that load as carrier two. So again, how is this stuff getting off? It baffles me. If I was a shipper, this would be easy for me to prevent double broker. I'm like, wait a minute, because I'm gonna verify because I'm about to put my 100, 200,000, sometimes $1 million worth of freight on this trailer, right? And transport it to my customer. I'm taking a risk by using these carriers. So I want to make sure I got the right carrier. And if I gave this to a broker, then I want to make sure that the broker is doing his or her job to verify that the person that they said was coming is going to be the person who shows up. And if not, then the shipper and the broker says, okay, well, if you don't get the person, as the broker tells the shipper, if you don't get the person that I sent to you, according to the BOL, do not load that truck and give us a call. And in some cases, call the police. So, but yeah. So LaDonna says, not all shippers and receivers require an ID though. Right. Well, at this point, since double brokering is so prevalent, should they?
They should.
Right? It's getting to the point where, yeah, they should. I need to see a picture ID. And matter of fact, even let's do one better. We would have if it's a driver for carrier one, let's take a photo ID and attach that to the BOL when we send it to the shipper. So when the driver gets there, they got an attached copy of the picture of the person who's supposed to be picking up the load. And if it's not that person, I'm not loading your truck. Who are you?
That's what Amazon does.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Amazon is ahead of the game right now when it comes to double brokering in, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would I? Yeah, that's foolish. This phenomena called double brokering has been going on for far too long. With all we have to do is just use some common sense to figure this out. Like wait a minute, why am I putting this a different trucking company?
Yeah.
They may have the same load number, but a different trucking company shows up to pick up a load from the trucking company that was brokered to, and the shipper knows who was brokered to because the broker told them who was going to be brokered to. So you were saying something, Alicia?
Hmm.
You were saying something. I thought you was ready to say something. I'm sorry.
Oh. Oh.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So now, as brokers, or you guys who are potentially going to become broker. Well, this is a broker class. So as brokers, where is your role at in this equation? Right. You want to make sure that you protect, because if a load is double brokered, right, that load is gone. So now let's say for example, let's say for a second argument that carrier two got that off. He got it off, right? He got the load for some miracle. He tricked the shipping facility to actually load a load that he don't own, that wasn't brokered to him, onto their trailer and go, right? Now what? Right? It gets taken to the receiving facility or the consignee. Do you not think the consignee should also know which truck and trailer and which company is bringing the load? Because the consignee is the customer of the shipper. The consignee paid the shipper to have this load transported to their facility. So
Huh?
it would be wise for them to also be in on this process, to know the right trucking company is bringing my goods that I purchased from the shipper to me, the consignee or the receiver. So I should also have a copy of a photo on the that was emailed to me. So all parties should have all the data that they need. The broker should send the information to the consignor, the shipper, or and or well not or and the consignee, the receiver. So everybody's on the same page. So there should be emails going out in memos like, look, man, to avoid double brokering, we want to institute this process, this new process. And it's simple. Just take a photocopy of the driver's ID and attach it to the BOL. So one extra page can eliminate this foolishness, right?
Yeah.
Something simple as that. And if it's not the driver that's coming to get this with this truck and trailer, their truck and trailer, their picture, their name and phone number and contact information, and they are an approved carrier of the broker that we hired to move our freight. If they're not any of that, then we won't load the truck, or we won't unload the truck in the case of the consignee. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
That's a simple solution. I can't imagine why every broker. I can't imagine why TIA, Transportation Intermediaries Association. This is a group of disgruntled brokers, right, who hate dispatchers, by the way. I can't imagine that they haven't thought about this. This is not an ingenious idea. This is more common sense, right? They talk about double brokering to the FMCSA. They want to pass legislation with Congress and all this other nonsense. But why not first try to solve it in-house first? Why not think about what uh, what strategies and workflow we can put into our brokerage that'll make our customer um, happier and more willing to work with us, and our customer's customer, the receiver, the consignee. Something as simple as that. All parties need to know, who the person is transporting your freight, because this could be $1 million of freight, it could be whatever the value is. The concept is the same. It's the principle here, right? So But yeah, but let's say it gets to this facility, and I'm not this facility, but the receiver, the consignee. Now it's getting to the consignee, and the consignee is expecting the same person that arrived at the shipping facility, but for some reason the shipping facility was tricked. But the consignee says, wait a minute, you got load ABC 123, but you're not Jane Doe. I got a picture of your driver's license. You're not the person that's supposed to deliver this freight. You know, is that freight stolen?
Yeah.
Right? Even though the shipper, unbeknownst to them, gave it to them willingly without out of ignorance. They didn't know, or they didn't have proper systems in place to prevent giving it to them, but they gave it to them willingly. So the shipper didn't go and report it stolen, but is it okay? So technically it's stolen because it doesn't belong to carrier two. Carrier two took possession of it, right? And then they even signed on the BOL. You know how you sign the BOL at the shipper, verifying that everything was loaded as a carrier, right? Sign it. Either you do shipper load SLC, shipper loading count if they don't let you verify it, or you sign and timestamp next to the shipper's name to verify everything was loaded, right? On the BOL. So it gets to the receiver. The receiver says, wait a minute, I'm expecting Jane though. This is John Henry. It's a different gender, right? They may try to stall him, put him on the phone, call the shipper, maybe even call the broker, call the police, right? So if I was carrier two and I'm sitting there waiting a while to be unloaded like uh more than normal, I'm pulling off the dock because I know the police coming. I'm gone. Y'all can have y'all can have this. But but the point is this these systems need to be in place, right? To avoid this. You know, so as a broker, as a professional, once you start your brokerage, this is hopefully once you guys start your brokerage or you're working under a brokerage, this type of stuff would have been resolved. But if not, this could be an idea that you can use for your brokerage. You know, something as simple as, hey man, as the broker, you got a carrier who's approved with your brokerage. You onboarded them, you approved them, they got factored in all that stuff, line of credit. Make it a thing to also include with your setup packet to get a photocopy of their driver's license, front and back, right? And then put that in as a requirement in your carrier profile. So now when you send the information that you got a driver to your shipper, let them know this is who the person is, and put a little paragraph in there in order in our efforts as ABC Freight Brokerage, in our efforts to avoid double brokering and to make sure that your freight, Mr. Shipper, gets delivered to your customer on time and safely and securely. We've instituted this new policy. We've added details of who the driver is, their truck and trailer number, and their information. So when they get to your facility, all you have to do is verify who that is. If it's not the person that we've sent it to you, please do not load that trailer and contact us. You know, things like that. So, any questions there? No. I'm glad you made it in, Ramon. For those who came in a little bit later, Friday, I will not be here. Class, I'll be it's my wife's birthday weekend, so I will be kidnapped and taken to Washington, D.C. to the African American Museum. So, but I'll make an announcement there. All right, so what other? This is a big thing though. This double brokering thing. I'm surprised. Now, what's the difference? Can someone explain to me between double brokering and co-brokering? Right? Co-brokering. Are they the same? Are they different? What is that? How is that? Because
It's co-brokering, like if you can't move a truck, then you can pass it on to the next broker for them to move it for you, type of thing.
okay. You sound like you answered the question, but at the same time, you got a little concern in your voice, like, is that right? Or but I
Is
get So, right. So one broker has the customers and one broker has the assets, and they come together with a co-brokering agreement in order to satisfy that customer move and meet the capacity of the customer. So yes. So
So would that be like if I had like my brokerage, if I had my trucking company move it for me, is that co-brokering?
if you have if you have a brokerage, but you're going to use your trucking side
Right.
because you're asset based to help move freight or loads for a brokerage who's not asset based, but they have a ton of loads from a customer. Okay. So two brokers, one broker has the trucks, the other broker has the loads. So they have this truck, broker one has the capacity, and broker two has the work, the loads from the shipper, the customer. Especially if now broker two who has the loads, they can reach out to their network of carriers that they have onboarded with them, right? But let's say their network is not that big, and let's say all of their assets in that network, all the trucks that they have onboarded with them, are covered, right? So they reach out to broker one, say, hey man, you got any trucks available in Dallas going eastbound? I got some loads. And then they have to come together with a broker to broker agreement, a B2B agreement. So I think somebody's going to say something. Who's that? All right. So this is not double brokering right here, because these two parties have a contractual agreement to do the work. The carrier, the double broking concept, there was no contractual agreement. Carrier one just gave the load to carrier two moved. And let's say in the double brokering instance, who gets paid? How is payment? How is carrier two going to get paid? What if carrier two delivers the load and then carrier one gets paid because carrier two gave them the paperwork to turn in to verify delivery, the POD, but then carrier one decides not to pay carrier two? Does carrier two have a leg to stand on in the double brokering example? Yes or no?
Yeah.
He does. How so? There's no contract, right? There's no contract in double brokering. So let me put up here. Broker contracts with the broker carrier agreement and the rate con with carrier one. I'm just going to put C1 for the sake of writing, right? With the rate con, right? That's what's used. The rate con and the POD, once it's delivered, the proof of delivery, right, is between the broker and carrier one. That's who the broker owes money to once they turn that POD in, and any other receipts for accessorials or whatever, they got to pay carrier one. But if carrier one decides to broker it to carrier two, double broker, I should say, right? And carrier two, everything gets off. All the illegal stuff gets off, right? That carrier two delivered the load, they got the POD, and they gave the POD proof of delivery back to carrier one so that carrier one can give it to the broker to get paid. What if carrier one doesn't pay carrier two? Does carrier two have a leg to stand on? And the original rate con was, let's say, $2,000, and carrier one promised to broker it to them for $1,800. They moved it for cheaper. Carrier 2 moved it for cheaper. So Carrier 1 was gonna make a $200 profit. The difference between 18 and 2000, right? Those are the numbers. Carrier 1 says, hey man, move this load for me. I got a load, man. Here's the information. Go pick it up, take it to this customer, take it to this consignee. I'll give you 1,800. They got 2,000 in it. So the Carrier 1's acting as a broker without a broker authority, obviously, because they have a carrier authority. But what I'm asking is, if Carrier 2 gets off all the illegal part of double brokering and picking it up from a shipper, taking it to a receiver, getting all the paperwork signed. I mean, they got to be some pretty dumb shippers and receivers not to verify the same person. But anyway, let's say all that stuff gets off, right? Then Carrier 2 is expecting payment from Carrier 1, but Carrier 1 say, I'm gonna trick them. I'm not giving them a dime. I'm gonna still get my $2,000, and I didn't move a load. They did. What legal recourse do Carrier 2 have if there is no contract involved in that process? You go to court, the judge's gonna say, well, where's the contract? Where's the what gave you Carrier 1 first of all, what gave you the legal right to give this load that you would contract with this broker to another carrier, first of all? But Carrier 2 is the plaintiff, so they're at the court, litigating the fact that they should get paid for moving the load. But Carrier 1 says, hey, I got the POD. I gave it to the broker according to our Raycon and I got the POD. I should get $2,000. Legally, they're going to get $2,000. And legally, Carrier 2 is not going to get a dime because there's no contract. Who disagrees with that? So in the concept of double brokering, the second carrier can be left holding the bag or without getting paid. So the greatest risk is right here. Carrier 2. So as in the concept of double brokering, why would I want to be the second carrier involved in that double brokering thing? If I'm assuming the most risk, I stand the risk of not getting paid. Right? Who disagrees with that? Right? All right. Can everybody see this on the board? Can everybody hear me? I want to make sure that everybody can hear me because I don't hear any back and
I'm
forth.
here.
Okay. So to make sure you guys can hear me.
I disagree with it, but if you know you're double brokering, I mean, you gotta take the risks that come with it, I guess.
Right. And you're talking about Carrier 2, the second carrier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I mean, are they doing a contract double brokering verbally, or are they doing it through email? I mean, because if it's through email, then you have receipts that.
yeah, you have receipts through emails, but even that in let's say in the court of law, I don't think that's legally binding because the original, if I was a judge, I'll ask, okay, well, what did the original contract start? Okay, in the brokering. It was between the broker and the first carrier. That's okay, show me the broker carrier agreement. Okay, it got Carrier 1's name on it. The rate confirmation came across from the broker to the Carrier 1. They signed it. Okay, well, here's the contract right here. That's what the judge's gonna say. So
Well, can't Carrier 2 do a report on the sites where they look you up to like let them know that it's their double brokering on that behalf as well?
they can, but again, how far is that going to go?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how you double broker in the first place.
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't know. People have been talking about this double brokering for months now, and I'm like, well, how is it getting off? First, because if you check all documentation that's involved in brokering, right? What are the documents involved in brokering? Let's go over that a little bit too, as it relates to you, the broker, and your carrier, and the relationship between the consignor and the consignee, or the shipper and the receiver, I should say, right? So the documents that are involved in this, well, the first document is between uh, you, the broker, and the carrier. You found a carrier to move your customers' freight, right? So the first document you would need is, and the broker carrier agreement, right? That's the contract between you uh, and the carrier, right? And all its supporting documents, right? The the MC, the W-9, the COI, those things, right? And any factoring documents like NOA, credit, right? We all agree with that, right? Between the broker and the carrier. We got that. This says that we have a legally binding contract. I've onboarded you, I've approved you, I've vetted you. You are my carrier in my carrier network. We all agree there?
Yes.
Right. So now I found a load, or you seen a load posted on the load board. Okay. And you called me as one of my network carriers. And you've already, so the first thing, the broker carrier agreement, you're onboarded, you're an approved carrier. So now I send you a rate confirmation on that specific load that you may have came across that I posted on the load board or emailed you about, and you agreed to it. We negotiated the rate, yada, yada, yada. We came to an agreement. Let's say that rate con for that load that we saw was a little small, 1,500 or whatever the number is, right? A rate con. And you as a carrier, you want the load. Okay. So now I sent you the rate con, you signed it, and you sent it back to me. So now as a broker, I let my customer know that I have a truck. I have a truck that's coming to pick up that load. So here's where the possible disconnect starts. That whole double brokering thing, right? On the rate confirmation, it should have the driver's information, their first and last name, their cell number, their email. And now, as us brokers, we may want to include, when we first onboarded that carrier with the broker carrier agreement and all the documents, we want to include the picture of the driver's license, right? The front and back. Right? The front and back driver's license. I'll put DL front and DL back. This may help you guys with the double brokering thing, right? The rate confirmation, or this is part of the onboarding process. I shouldn't have put it on the rate confirmation point, but that's part of the onboarding process. So now, what is the other documents? When the carrier gets to the consignor, or we'll say the shipper. I don't want to confuse you guys. We'll say the shipper. They get to the shipper. The broker has already told the shipper, either by phone or email, that they got a truck. Shipper should have in their possession, either email or through EDI, right? Email or EDI. EDI stands for electronic data interchange. That is just an electronic way to transfer information quicker of everything that they needed. The bill of lading, which is the title to the goods that the carrier is coming to pick up from the shipper, take possession, and transport it safely and securely to the receiver. Okay. On the BOL, it should have what? The pickup number or load number, right? and other information. But those are some main things right there. Pickup number, load number, driver information, and then maybe attach to it the photocopy of the person's license, front and back. There is possibly where the double brokering disconnect can cease or stop right there. Because now you got their truck and trailer number, you got their driver's license copy of that, who they are, things like that, the load number, pickup number, confirmation number, or whatever, right? And then of course at the consignee, you're going to end up getting what's called the POD, because once you deliver, you're releasing possession of the goods to the receiver. They're taking possession now. You had possession as a carrier at the shipper, but now once you get to the consignee, you release possession because the receiver is taking possession of it and signing the BOL, which now becomes, so a clean BOL or a completed signed BOL turns into a POD, right? Proof of delivery. This is how drivers get paid, either through their factoring companies, shippers, or brokers. Okay. So again, this is, as brokers, as new brokers, you may want to at least consider incorporating that little process into your workflow as a broker. A simple process of requiring, when you are on board carriers, requiring them to send a copy of the front and back of their driver's license to identify who they are. So now when you put them on specific loads and send those loads and that truck's information to the shipper, you'll add that one page or even a paragraph or whatever to that. So now that the shipper knows, and indirectly or directly, the receiver knows as well, the consignee. Something as simple as that can potentially prevent double brokering, right? So, any questions there? I could have sworn I saw Sky coming there. Yeah, there she goes. Chirac. What's up, Sky? How are you?
Hey, Mr. Charles. Pretty good. You?
Okay.
All right.
All right. No more questions? We good? Let's see. All right. All right. I guess today's lesson was double brokering. But as a repeat, not this, but Friday I won't have class, and I'll be traveling with the wife. Our next class will be the 27th and the 30th, second and fourth week. So, and Alicia, hopefully, the whole back solicitation thing. Are you still being unloaded or loaded? I think you were either loaded or unloaded. So she's in her sleeper berth, listening to the call here. And we were talking about back solicitation on the broker carrier agreement. Let me share that screen there. Because if you are a carrier getting into brokering, and you're on the operator and you're delivering loads for a bunch of customers, of course you see on the rate cons the information of the customer. So if you're switching from a carrier to a broker, and let's say you either want to be asset-based or non-asset-based, you have all that data. The carrier, the shipper's information, the point of contact, POC, email, phone number, name, and you can go after those customers. Now, if you go after them as a carrier, that could be a problem, especially if the broker that you got that load from, broker it to you by, finds out. But if you go and let's say you got a friend who's a broker or who's going to be a broker, and you just share the information with them and they go after the customer that the load was brokered to you under, and they get the customer as a customer, taking them away from the broker that you just got brokered to, that shouldn't affect you, because you're not you're not back soliciting as a carrier. You gave it to your friend who has nothing to do with the broker that you just got the load from. And I'm not saying it like I'm encouraging you to do it. I'm just saying technically that's the verbiage here, right? That's the loophole. If you go after a broker's customer as a carrier, you can run into point number 2 right here, which is 20% of whatever you make off of, or any court costs if they go to court, injunctive release. But if you go after a broker's customers, not as a carrier, but as you gave the information to someone else who's a broker and who happens to win that customer, technically you're okay, because they can't, number one, they can't prove it's you. And number two, and if they did, they don't have a leg to stand on because you were not a carrier. You see, so, but again, I'll throw that caveat in. I'm not encouraging you to do it. I'm just saying, technically, this is the verbiage. All right. Okay. All right. Any questions? I want to make sure we're good before we can call this one. We can shorten this one tonight. I was waiting on Darren to come on because Darren has a particular story. He's Darren Donald. He's a broker. He's gone through some brokering challenges that he was going to share with you guys, but I expected him to come on a little bit later, but it's fine. I'll just catch him the next class we come in. But he's going through some real world challenges as brokers that you guys would have loved to have heard, right? And the responses and solutions for them. So, but Darren didn't make it tonight, which is fine. No big deal. So, Ramona, Ramon, I'm glad. Did I pronounce your name right, Ramon? Mr. Carter? I'll just say Mr. Carter. I'll just wait till you to. I'm glad you made it in. Okay, good, good. Welcome back. And hopefully you have access to the portal. As you can see, there's a lot more information here for you. And we're trying to make sure it's organized and easy to follow. So hopefully the self-paced modules is the meat of the training. So that's good. All right. All right, guys. If there isn't anything else, I will let you guys go back to your whatever you were doing. I know Alicia was being loaded, I believe, or unloaded.
I'm back in the truck. I'm unloaded now.
Okay, so you were at the consignee.
Yes.
Okay. So you can give us all types of shipper and receiver name. We can start cold calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're driving a reefer, right? Refrigerated trailer?
Drive-in.
Drive-in. Okay. All right. Well, you be safe out there on the roads.
Okay, thank you.
And hopefully this information was a little bit better explained. Hopefully double brokering. Oh, how can carrier 2 know that they've been double brokered too? Gotten a load from the original carrier. So let's say carrier 1 and 2 didn't have a relationship and you just thought as carrier 2, you thought you were getting it from a broker, but unbeknownst to you, it was actually another carrier, right? So I would assume as a second carrier, you would want to, because you want to vet the brokers too. So as a carrier, you vet the brokers just as much as the brokers vet you, the carrier, right? Especially if you have a factoring company, right? You ask them for their MC number, you look them up. That's step number 1. You ask them for their MC number, you look them up in Safer or wherever you're gonna look up, and they're a carrier. You're like, wait a minute, you're not a broker? So that's the first line of defense. If you're the carrier too in that relationship, that double broker relationship, you're getting a load from another carrier. Like, no, 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 no. How am I gonna get it? How am I getting paid? First of all, this is not a
Mhm.
contract. No, I don't want this load. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So that's your first line of defense. That should be your only line of defense. If you look it on a load board and you see a load and it gives the appearance that it's a broker, but then you go to vet the person and it turns out that they are a carrier. You look them up. They may even deceive the information on the load board that gave them the appearance that they are a broker. But then when you go through your factoring company, they run them. They do a check. They say, this is a carrier. It's not a broker. You're like, what? And then you just contact them and say, hey, yeah, we're not going to take this load. Thank you very much. Go from there. So you got to reverse that too. So the first part is, not brokering or not double brokering as a carrier to another carrier. And then the second part, as a second carrier, not being double brokered to, being able to identify whether you are being double brokered to. So both ways to avoid the nonsense, because there's a whole lot of other nonsensical stuff going on out here, but that seems to be close to the top right now. This double brokering ideology that's going on, which is crazy. And then where is your role as a freight broker in this process? How can you curb this from continuing to happen and even educate other carriers to avoid it, right? So you ain't got to give a class or a Zoom call, but I'm just saying just in basic conversation, So little tips and tidbits there, too, little gems here and there to kind of bring home the point to avoid all this illegal stuff going on. So, all right, guys, are we good? Okay. And then once again, Alicia, be safe out there on the roads, of course, as usual. It's daylight, so it's not night, so you seem to be okay right now. So
Yeah.
are you on your way
And
home?
I can speak to you about the mechanic.
Yeah. Let me get his information. I gotta find. I'll look his information up. And where's your guy? He's broken down in North Carolina?
Henderson, North Carolina.
Henderson, North Carolina. Do you know what the problem particularly is, or?
Well, they supposedly changed the line to the clutch because it was leaking the fluid out, so therefore he couldn't use his clutch. And they haven't put them back together. They still got to put the drive shaft back together. They're just twiddling their thumbs. He's been there since last night.
Oh, no. One of them. Yep.
Yeah.
Mechanics,
Now
but
we're late for our appointment. We were a day ahead of schedule. Now we're behind schedule.
they make my top 5 list of liars.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanics.
And then they tried to get me to pay for it before they were done. And I was like, no, I'm not paying for it. You got to put it back together and check and make sure everything works before I pay you.
Yeah, let me look up my guy. See if I can find this information.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Let me see if I can find it tonight. Hopefully he won't sit in there too long, because you guys are already late for the other appointment. So you guys already called the broker and they made provisions and all this other stuff.
Now, this is the direct carrier. So I had to call the fleet manager so he can change the appointment.
Got it. Okay. All right, man, it's unfortunate. All right. So hopefully I'll find that person. Let me look him up, because I had just got in contact with this person and had a great conversation with him. So I want to see if I can get a hold of him.
Appreciate it.
All righty. All right. And if anyone else knows a good mechanic, let's try to help Miss Alicia out. get in contact with her. All right. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. We'll cut it short tonight. And I will see you on the 27th for the live Zoom call, because the 16th, this Friday is canceled. So the next one will be next Tuesday or 2 weeks from today on the 27th. All right. For the live Zoom according to the calendar here. All right. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for
Good night.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.